Chapter 8 of Management, an Integrated Approach. Organizational Culture. Part 3. What is culture? Culture is often defined as a pattern of shared basic assumptions that was learned by a group as it solved its problems, that has worked well enough to be considered valid, and therefore, to be taught to new members as the correct way to perceive, think, and feel in relation to those problems. In other words, culture provides employees with a roadmap and a set of rules for how work gets done and how people interact in a company. Culture responds to humans' basic need for stability, consistency, and meaning. If you are trying to assess an organization's culture, several elements can be helpful in deciphering it. An appreciation for the company's values and philosophy or purpose. Broad policies and ideological principles guide a group's actions towards stockholders, employees, customers, and other stakeholders. What are the articulated, publicly announced principles and values that the group claims to be trying to achieve? What is the purpose of the company? With Ritz-Carlton, the key value is customer service. An understanding of the group's boundaries. Understanding a group's rules for inclusion helps a new member determine what the group assumes to be valuable and what is expected of employees. This will help focus attention on the most important aspects of the company. An understanding of the power structure in a company. Identifying the rules for achieving, keeping, and losing power also helps lay bare the group's assumptions about what is and is not appropriate. It can also help to observe who has power in the organization and who doesn't. This observation can provide some insights into the sources from which people obtain power. An understanding of the work rules and norms. How do people in the organization interact? The implicit standards and values that evolve in working groups, such as the particular norm of a fair day's work for a fair day's pay that are transmitted from one generation of employees to another through stories and through sanctions for inappropriate behavior, help decipher what is valued. Strong norms clarify the priorities and expectations of the organization, which, in turn, lead to a better understanding of performance and, ultimately, greater efficiency. An evaluation of the company's reward and punishment system. This can be evaluated by looking at the ways in which a group celebrates key events that reflect important values or important passages by members, such as promotions, completion of important projects, and milestones. Conversely, looking at behavior that is punished or ignored provides further clues about the culture of the organization. Think about your college search process. A key piece of advice that you may have received was to find a college that fits who you are. Some counselors might have told you that when you step on the right campus, you will know it. It will feel right, and you will be able to picture yourself there. In essence, the college search process is about finding a culture that fits your values, who you are, and who you want to become. The campus climate, its learning model and philosophy of education, its extracurricular activities, and its overall spirit are all elements of its culture. Some of these elements are readily apparent, such as the campus infrastructure, while others are more subtle and require you to obtain a deeper understanding of what you value and what is important to you. At the heart of the search process, you are trying to find a match between you and the culture of your intended college. The same lessons apply when looking for a job, finding a culture that fits who you are and what you value. Impact of culture on performance. Quality products and services, such as Ben and Jerry's ice cream, innovative strategy, like that employed by Google, and impeccable customer service such as Ritz-Carlton's are a few of the byproducts of companies with strong cultures. So are the scandals, such as the cell phone hacking in Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation and huge trading losses incurred at JP Chase. A strong positive culture can significantly contribute to the achievement of an organization's strategic goals and has been linked to better levels of performance, higher financial metrics, and, ultimately, distinctive competitive advantage. In fact, in one survey of 1,200 global senior executives, 91% believed that culture was as important as strategy to a firm's success. At some point, the size of the company will no longer allow a general manager to guide every decision to ensure they align with company objectives. In a strong culture, those goals are clear and serve as instinctive guidelines that allow an organization to scale up more easily and operate with fewer overt control systems to regulate employee behavior. Strong cultures often have greater role clarity because they are explicit about what is expected in an organization. This clarity of expectation, in turn, enables employees to operate more autonomously and with greater consistency. Several benefits ensue for organizations with a strong culture. If an organization has a strong culture, there is a greater chance that decisions made throughout the company will be in line with company goals and thus require less coordination and monitoring. In essence, a strong culture allows a company to run more smoothly and quickly, and in a cost-effective manner because the company's personnel doesn't have to debate every course of action. An organization's culture can also serve as a moral compass for the organization as it defines acceptable and unacceptable behavior. In fact, culture has been shown to be the most influential factor in defining the right types of behaviors in organizations, even more so than ethical compliance programs. One study found that if employees have a personal commitment to the organization, and if they believe the rules are morally right, they are motivated to obey the rules even in the absence of monitoring. In essence, compliance becomes ingrained. Employees in organizations with strong cultures tend to experience lower levels of turnover, especially because the culture plays a large role in identifying who is likely to fit and succeed in the organization. In this manner, hiring practices are tightly intertwined with the culture of an organization. While there are many benefits of a strong culture, there is also a potential dark side. Strong cultures are likely to discourage disagreement and can, in turn, result in a rush to decisions that are not properly vetted. Organizations with strong cultures may also encourage unethical behavior by rewarding the wrong actions or emphasizing only one goal at the expense of others. Strong culture organizations can also be difficult to change. In fact, one study shows that strong cultures lead to increased performance in stable environments, but decreased performance in more turbulent environments. A strong culture can make adapting to change more difficult, especially if adaptability is not a core part of the company's culture. Company leaders must pay close attention to the company's environment, goals, and actions to determine when to change a strong culture that has become dysfunctional. In strong cultures, there are high levels of agreement among employees about what is valued, and a correspondingly high level of intensity about these values. See Figure 8.1. When there is no agreement on what is valued in a firm, and little passion or intensity for these values, firms experience weak cultures. When there is high agreement about values, but little intensity or passion for these values, a firm's culture is considered passive. Employees recognize what is important but are not necessarily willing to make the appropriate effort. In the opposite situation, when there is a lot of intensity surrounding values but little agreement about which ones are important, firms are typically undermined by competing forces and rivalries. The number of values a firm holds is not as important as how strongly held they are and how much organizational buy-in they generate. In many cases, a company will develop subcultures that form around subunits within the organization, such as those that may occur around geography, product, or function. Groups often find their identity by comparing themselves to other groups, and this is true of groups within an organization. But while this identity formation can pull groups together and empower them to accomplish more than could be done on an individual level, their strong local culture can make those groups rigid and less open to different ideas. This can cause problems when members of different groups try to work together or communicate. Managers should recognize that conflict between divisions of a company is often due to differences in thinking, feeling, and acting that come from members of different groups operating within their own local cultures. If managers accurately identify these conflicts as cultural differences, they can point out the different assumptions and better confront the problems. Levels of organizational culture. Culture can be inferred from a number of aspects about an organization. Some are visible while others are hidden. To understand culture, you must comprehend the different levels of culture and its manifestations. When walking into a Nordstrom store, a customer will begin to get a feel for its culture. Nordstrom typically uses higher quality lighting and floor materials than do most other department stores. The stores are clean and orderly. Beyond their impeccable appearance, you'll notice the friendliness and helpfulness of the sales staff. And if you shop at Nordstrom frequently enough, you will notice how far the sales clerks will go to serve you. As an example, a foreign national who bought a pair of pants halfway around the world brought them to a Nordstrom near his office in the United States and asked if they could be returned. To his disbelief, the young clerk, not a manager, asked him how much he had paid for them, and then reached into the till and gave him that amount. How and why did this employee feel empowered to service the customer in this manner? The answer to this question lies in the culture that is embedded in Nordstrom. Much like Ritz-Carlton, Nordstrom has built a culture that allows employees to do whatever it takes to serve its customers. These employees do not need to be told what to do. They know what is expected within the culture of their organization. An organization's culture can be understood on a number of levels, each of which provides a more nuanced understanding of it. At the most basic level, there are artifacts, day-to-day behaviors that can be observed, below which are beliefs and values, what is deemed important by members of an organization, and finally, there are assumptions, the underlying essence of why members of an organization act as they do. For managers to understand and assess the potential of an organization's culture, they must start with the visible artifacts and move backward through the process by which they were created. This means uncovering the assumptions behind the artifacts as well as identifying the problems and the setting that formed the assumptions. Artifacts.